Hey friends, let's get moving. For today's full body class, you're going to need a block. So let's go. Start with your feet about hip distance apart, your toes facing straight ahead, with your hands down by your sides. And then relax your shoulders down and bring your chin to your chest. Now as you bring your chin to your chest, reach your chin also up towards the ceiling so that you're really lengthening out at the base of the skull. And keep that length there and just bring your right ear over towards your right shoulder. So your gaze is still pointing down towards the ground. And then come back through center and bring your left ear over to your left shoulder. Notice if your head wants to turn or if your neck wants to rotate. We're really still looking down at the ground here. And come back through center and over to the right. Keep hugging the chin up towards the ceiling, almost like you're trying to absorb your chin into your throat on its way up to the ceiling. And then bring yourself back through center and over to the left again. Noticing also if your head tries to rotate there. Great, and come back to center and lift your chin back up. Hello again. And now we're gonna let the neck bend from side to side to bring the right ear over to the right shoulder. Take a nice deep breath. Take your left hand and reach your left hand down towards the ground to increase that stretch sensation. And notice how the stretch sensation changes if you extend your chin away from your body or if you bring your chin closer towards your chest. You can kind of toggle back and forth there. Great. And release the reach. And bring your head back up to center. Other side, left ear down to left shoulder. And then reach for the ground with the right hand. Just pulling those tissues taut. And again, watch how the stretch sensation changes if you point your chin away from your body, sticking your chin out. And then if you bring your chin back in. You can go back and forth there. Great. Bring your chin back, release the slack, and lift your head up. Let's make some shoulder circles. Really get the shoulder blades moving apart so the tips of the shoulder joint point forward and kind of in. And then reach the shoulders up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. And then we're gonna go in reverse. So squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift them up towards your ears so they're back and up, and then forward and up and forward and down. One more time this way. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you, lift the shoulders up, reach the shoulders forward and down. Okay, go ahead and shake it out. Shake out your legs, shake out your hands. Bring your hands back to the sides of your thighs and take a moment to check in with your rib cage. Let your rib cage drop down. So I'm gonna show you that from the side again. I'm gonna put my hand on my head so you can see my torso. So I kind of have a tendency to stand like this, okay? And pull this taut so you can see I'm actually doing a back bend when I'm standing like this. I'm pointing my low ribs forward, and I would like for my spine and my rib cage to be in a more neutral position for this exercise. So I'm gonna let my ribs relax down. So I'm not crunching using my upper abdominal muscles. I'm just letting my rib cage settle down towards the ground. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my ribs settled down, and I'm just gonna slide my right hand down my right leg any amount. Take a breath in. I'm gonna come back up and go over to the other side. Take a breath in and come back up on the exhale And I'm just gonna go from side to side. Keeping the ribs, releasing down. And now I'm gonna come back over to the right, and I'm gonna see, how does it feel if I give myself a little extra load to carry here by lifting my left arm overhead? Come back up, put that left arm down, slide over to the left. And again, I'm gonna lift my right arm this time. One more each way. So slide down the right side. Maybe lift the left arm, and maybe if that felt super good and you want to try a little bit more, you can lift the right arm. But remember, that's going to be a lot of extra load, especially as you come upright. So just be kind and exhale to come up. Last time on the left. Left arm slides down. Maybe the right arm extends overhead, adding more load to that stretch. Maybe you take a moment to feel out what it's like to hold the left arm up too. Take a deep breath in, and then when you exhale, come upright. Okay, now go ahead and take your feet a little bit wider than your hips and turn your toes out. And here, bring your hands to your hips and bend your knees, coming down for a wide squat here. And when I lower down, I kind of get a little bouncy. I don't know if you're feeling bouncy or not, but you can try if you want to. So I'm going to put my hands on my legs, and I'm kind of, with my hands here, I'm kind of pushing my knees a little further apart, just gently widening my knees further apart. But at the same time, I'm squeezing my knees back into my hands. Okay, so I've got a little resistance there, and it just helps light up these inner thighs a little bit more, which I really like. So I'm gonna drop my right shoulder down and come back to the center, and then I'm gonna drop my left shoulder down in front. Getting some little easy twisties here. Back to center, one more. And back to center. Okay, go ahead and stand up. Now make your feet parallel again, so your toes are not out any wider than your heels. Bring your hands to your hips, drop your ribs, okay? And so this time, you're gonna lean your whole body forward, okay? As you lean your whole body forward, you're gonna feel your toes maybe start to grip into the ground. And then lean your body back. And you might feel like your toes want to peel up away from the ground. Just rock forward and backward for a moment. And then see if you can find kind of an even weight where you can let your toes relax, but you still feel some weight in your heels, okay? And then from here, you're gonna imagine that you're holding an invisible grapefruit between your chin and your chest. Bending at the hips, at the hip creases here, you're gonna lean forward. As you start to lean forward, pay attention to what muscles start to fire up in your legs. So for me, when I start to lean forward, I notice that my legs kind of hug in towards one another. See what action your legs feel like they're doing, and what muscles feel like they're firing up. So maybe you just lean forward or hinge forward a little bit. Maybe you come a little bit closer towards parallel to the ground. And as you lean forward, notice how and if your core abdominal muscles start to fire up. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, squeeze your tush and stand up. Great job. Okay. Bring your legs closer together, and we're gonna turn sideways. We're gonna separate the feet so the right foot's forward and the left foot steps back, coming into a lunge, but we're gonna bend the back knee also. And from here, tuck your tailbone under. And so maybe you start to feel a little bit more of a pronounced stretch sensation in the front of the left hip. Keep the ribs down. And just like we did before, even though there's no right leg right here, we're gonna reach towards the ground with the right hand, any amount, and then come back up. And then reach down towards the ground on the left side. But this is gonna get a little funny here. Notice if your hips try to shift over to the right. See if you can keep your hips and your legs in the center and just reach for the ground on the left side, any amount, and come back up. One more each way. Reach for the ground on the right side, come back up, and reach for the ground on the left side, any amount, keeping your hips right in the center. Great, come back upright, step your left foot to meet your right foot. Take a full breath in and out. Okay, step your right foot back. And I forgot to say on the first side, when you step that right foot back, if you're feeling really wobbly, you're gonna wanna check to see, are you kind of walking on a tightrope? If so, kick your right leg out wider back behind you so that your feet are still technically hip distance apart, and that can help you to feel a little bit more stable. Okay, so that's why I like to start with my feet hip distance apart, and then I just trace a straight line back with my right foot. Okay, so coming into this lunge position, and then I'm gonna drop my back knee a bit, bending the back knee. I'm gonna scoop the tailbone under so that I'm pulling a little bit, pulling the muscles on the front of the right hip and thigh taut a little bit more. Arms relaxed by the sides, ribs relaxed down, and then I'm gonna reach towards the ground with my left hand. So I'm scrunching up the left side. Exhale to come back up. And then I'm gonna reach down for the ground with the right hand, kind of funny. And then exhale, come back upright. One more each way. Over to the left. And see, this side feels, for me, like a great stretch. Feels awesome. This side, when I go to the right, just feels kind of awkward. And it makes me feel like I don't know where my hips are in space. So that tells me that it's a good exercise for my body right now. Go ahead and come back up so that my body can learn better about where all of its parts are and how they move. Let's go ahead and grab the block. And you're gonna put your block up against the wall. Now, if you have a doorway nearby, you don't have to use the block. You can just put your arm on the doorway and kind of step through. But if you're just near just a regular flat wall, the block is gonna be super helpful. So I'm gonna put it so it sticks out the furthest possible from the wall with the long side, okay? And so the long side, I'm gonna bend my elbow and I'm gonna put my elbow up on the block. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna drop my ribs, okay? And here, maybe feeling some tricep stretch. You might feel it in your armpit. You might feel it along your side body. Everybody's different, everybody's shoulders are different, but just keep on letting your rib cage settle, relax down, and then as you breathe, think of a wide breath. Think of, as you're inhaling, your rib cage is expanding from side to side. Sometimes I like to bend my knees because I feel like that helps give a little bit more length. One more breath here. Okay, and then I'm gonna hold the block and then take my arm away from it and relax my arm down. Okay, I'm gonna go over to the other wall just for good measure so I can be close to Monty, the emotional support plant. Okay, you're gonna put the block up against the wall. Left arm this time is gonna come to the upper back. I'm gonna put the elbow up there at the block. And remembering to let the ribs drop down. You might take a moment to notice, how does this arm feel different than the other arm? How does this shoulder experience this position differently than the other shoulder experienced it? And again, sometimes I like to bend my knees to give kind of a little bit more drag or traction. Big, wide breaths in the rib cage. One more deep breath. And blow it out. Okay, hold on to the block, and then you can take yourself away from the wall. Wow. Hello, triceps. Okay, keep your block with you. Separate your feet pretty wide, wider than your hips, but keep your feet parallel, so your toes shouldn't be out any wider than your heels. You are gonna start using the block, and then as we get into it, you might find that, I don't really need it anymore. And if that's the case, you can kind of knock it over out of the way, okay? But to just start, place your block down on the highest setting, right on the outside of your right foot. Take your arms out, wrist to shoulder height. And before we begin this full body movement, go ahead and bend at the wrists to point your fingertips up towards the ceiling and reach your arms apart. Maybe feeling that nerve stretch through the arms and forearms. And then go ahead and point your fingertips down towards the ground. And again, float your fingertips back up towards the ceiling, bending at the wrist, getting that little nerve stretch in. And then just extend your wrists straight, palms facing the ground. Okay, here we go. We're gonna do this windmill twist. So make sure your shoulders are relaxed. You're gonna take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, lots of things are gonna happen at once. So you're gonna be bending your right knee, and then you're gonna try to get your left hand over to the block, okay? So you're gonna be rotating through your torso, and you can have your right arm up in the air. If that doesn't feel well for your shoulder, you can always keep your right hand on your hip for this series, okay? And then you're going to inhale and come back up, okay? Exhale to twist. Inhale to come back up. Let's keep going. And you can go as quickly or as slowly as you want here. It's your call. We're going to do 3 more on this side. This is 3, 2, and 1. Great job. Go ahead and lower your arms down, give your arms a break, and you can switch the block over to the other side. So as you're going, if you feel like, oh, I can get all the way down to the ground, I don't need the block, then do that. If that feels kind, just knock the block out of the way, okay? So take your arms out, wrist to shoulder height again, but this time giving our forearms a little bit of love before we begin. Make fists and hold your index fingers in place with your thumbs, and then bend at the wrist to point your knuckles down towards the ground and reach your arms apart from one another. Reach, reach, reach. Take a deep breath. And relax. Okay, here we go. Take a breath in, bend your left knee, and the right hand is gonna come over to the block on the left side. Okay, exhale back up. I think I said the breath wrong. We've been doing it wrong. I'm sorry. Breathe however you want. Here we go. Right hand to the block. And again, you can just have your left hand on your left hip if keeping the arm up doesn't feel well for your shoulder. Find what's kind. Yeah, so I retract my my breathing claims or my breathing cues and just breathe. Breathe however you want. Go as quickly or as slowly as you want, whatever feels good. As you're bending your knee though, if you're feeling like that doesn't feel good for your knee, as you bend, make sure to kick your hips back. Shift your hips back as you bend the knee, and that will take some of the weight out of it. I think we've got 2 more. Last one. Great job. Relax your arms. Heel toe your feet back towards one another. And let's get that block out of the way. Okay, we're gonna make our way down to the ground. Try to do this without using your hands. There's lots of ways to get down to the ground. Of course, if you really need to use your hands, use them, but try to not. Okay, so one way you can come down is through a kneeling position, or a lunging position, I mean. Another way that you can come down is through a squatting position. Maybe you cross your ankles and you lower down through crisscross. So there's lots of choices here. Okay, so go ahead and get your block again, and we're gonna sit on it. Okay, so just sit in a crisscross applesauce position up on your block. Now, if you're sitting here and you feel like your knees are up somewhere near your ears in the stratosphere, or if you just feel like it's really hard to sit up and you're rocking back, you have some options. One thing that you can do is to add a second block or add some pillows or a cushion so that you're higher up. And then that might help the fronts of your hips to let go so that your knees can fall closer to the ground, and that will help you to be more comfortable. If you just simply cannot get comfortable here, please sit in a chair, okay? And you'll still get some benefit, okay? So, from this position, we're gonna go ahead and interlace the fingers and extend the arms out in front of us, reaching the palms forward. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, stretching through the hands, and then take your arms overhead, any amount. So just go as far as your arms want to go. Don't let your ribs lift, okay? Keep your ribs just nice and relaxed and down. So my arms are not in a line with my ears. Yours do not need to be either. Just take a few breaths. Notice how your arms start to get pretty heavy. Last breath here. Go ahead and lower your arms down. Okay, so we've got lots of things crossed. First, we're gonna switch the cross of the legs. Okay, so put the other shin in front. So your legs are crossed in the weird way. And then look and see which index finger is on top and switch so the other index finger is on top. Okay, and then go ahead and again, extend your arms, reach your palms forward. Let your ribs soften and take your arms overhead, any amount. And breathe. Really reaching through the palms. And you can do this where your thumbs are just kind of relaxed here, but I like to pull my thumbs back towards my face to just open up my palms a little bit more. Can you keep your face calm and relaxed? Can you relax your jaw? And you don't have to jam your shoulder blades down your back, but also they don't have to be up towards your ears either, okay? So see if you can just find a soft spot for your shoulders. For 3, 2, and 1. Okay, go ahead and relax. Ooh, you know, it just gets hard to lift your arms up, doesn't it? Okay, we're gonna make our way down to our backs. So come off of your block, or if you were in the chair, go ahead and come back to the ground. But do keep your block close by. Go ahead and extend your legs out. And we're gonna reach the arms forward. Okay, so we're gonna roll down to our back, trying to segment the spine so we roll down one vertebra at a time. Okay, scoop your tailbone under. Imagine that your tailbone is a spade, a garden spade, and you're making a divot in the ground underneath you. Okay, and as you do that, maybe you felt your lower abdominal muscles turn on a little bit. So you're just gonna keep angling the tailbone up towards the ceiling, digging that hole and moving down one vertebra at a time. Now you might reach a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna flop back to the ground. And if you need to flop, go for it. Otherwise, try to maintain control all the way down. Great job. And then when you get down, go ahead and organize your wardrobe. Pull up the pants, pull down the shirt, whatever you need to do. If it's not comfortable to lay with your head flat on the ground, you can get a pillow or a folded blanket, or you can even use your block. Okay, your call. So first, just pick up your right leg, and I want you to feel behind your right knee. Can you feel those two tendons, those two like ropey things on the back of your knee? That's your knee pit, okay? In between those is like a really soft, squishy area. So those two tendons, I want you to imagine those as parallel lines, okay? Running right up and down. Now, right now, my knee pit tendon lines are kind of pointing over towards the right. So I'm gonna try to get my knee pit tendons pointing straight ahead in the same direction as that wall in front of me. So what that looks like is I have to externally rotate my leg, okay? Watch my toes. So right now when I'm kind of just not even thinking about it and I lift my leg up, my toes are kind of pointing over towards the left shoulder, okay? And my knee pit parallel lines are kind of pointing over towards the right front corner of my mat. So if I want to get my knee pits pointing straight ahead towards the wall, I'm going to have to externally rotate my thigh, and my toes are going to end up now pointing way out over to the right, okay? But my knee pits are straight ahead. So keep your leg aligned just like that and put it straight down on the ground. Okay, so we're gonna try to steady the rest of our body and just concentrate on lifting up this right leg, okay? Keeping it in this same rotated, externally rotated position with the knee pits angling straight ahead of us, okay? We're gonna lift the leg up, but we're only gonna lift the leg as high as this left knee, okay? No higher than that. And if your leg feels too heavy and you feel like you can only lift it about an inch or two away from the ground, that's fine too. Do what you can. So try to keep your pelvis steady, try to keep everything else steady. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, go ahead and lift your right leg any amount, but not higher than your bent left knee. Inhale, set it back down, and exhale to lift. Inhale to lower, exhale to lift. Keeping your knee pit lines facing that wall ahead of you, straight ahead. Three, two, oh, my leg's shaking. Last one. Great job. Bend your right knee, put your right foot down, take a full breath in and out. Okay, lift your left leg up, And feel around behind your knee. See if you can find those two tendons, those two parallel lines, okay? And you're gonna point them so that they're facing straight ahead towards the wall in front of you, okay? And so that is usually gonna mean, for most of us, the vast majority of us, that we are externally rotating the thigh, and that's gonna present as the toes pointing out to the side, okay? Kind of like how a ballet dancer might stand, or how a duck, we envision like a duck walking with its toes out. Okay, so keep your knee pits pointing in that direction. Go ahead and lower your leg to the ground. And we're gonna, again, try to keep everything steady, but we're gonna lift the leg up any amount, but no higher than the right knee. And I'm gonna scoot over a little bit so I don't keep hitting Monty down there. So you're gonna exhale to lift. Well, I'm still hitting him, but that's okay. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift the leg. Inhale to lower. Trying to keep the rest of the body steady. And remember, you don't have to lift as high as the bent knee. Maybe you just lift a few inches off the ground. This hip feels very different. This leg feels very different for me than the other side. And so on this side, it does feel better to lift not quite as high for me. So pay attention to what your body is feeling and the sensations that you're getting, and then, respond. Find what's kind. Let's just do 2 more. And last one. Set your leg down. Great job. Bend both knees. Take a full breath in, a full breath out. Okay, let's come into a little hip stretch to finish this off. So cross your left ankle over your right thigh. And if you feel a good stretch in your left hip, stay put here. If you want more, pick your right foot up. And you can put your hands on top of your right knee, or you can interlace your fingers behind your right thigh, whatever works for you. I like to rest on my knee. Just take some deep breaths and see if you can tune in to notice, does the stretch sensation change from my inhales to my exhales? And then great, let's go ahead and release that right foot down, uncross, both feet on the ground, full breath in and out. Switch, right ankle crosses over the left thigh, so you can stay put here, or you can pick your left foot up away from the ground, and then find that comfortable place for your hands. Going inward, mentally focusing on what you're feeling as you breathe, noticing, does my stretch sensation change from inhale to exhale? One more breath here. And go ahead and release your left foot down and your right foot. And go ahead and give your knees a little hug. You can rock a little bit from side to side. And then put your feet down on the ground, put your arms down by your sides, And go ahead and scoop your tailbone up towards the ceiling. So your low back is still on the ground, but your pelvis has lifted because you're angling your pubic bone towards your navel, your tailbone towards the ceiling, and go ahead and lift your hips up away from the ground, coming into a bridge. Doesn't have to be a super high bridge, just a little bit of a bridge here. And then you're gonna reach your right knee further away from you, and then your left knee further away from you, opening up the fronts of the hips here. Just going back and forth for 3, 2, and 1. Coming back to center, reaching through both knees. And then go ahead and roll down one vertebra at a time. So if you are making time for extra rest today, go ahead and lay yourself out and enjoy the rest. Set a timer so you don't have to worry about when it's time to get back up. But if you're ready to move on with the rest of your day, go ahead and roll over to one side and slowly sit up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this full body basics class, and I'll see you next time.